Thank you for joining in. I'm Grace Chen, Senior Industry Principal from Infosys Finacle, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this session. Today, we have key executives from 4 banks joining us to discuss scaling digital innovation in retail banking. We have Jeremy Balkin, Head of Innovation at HSBC. We have Sailesh Panchal, Director of Technology and Engineering at Metrobank. We have Andres Vasquez, Director of Nequi at Bancolombia, and Daniel Cassar, Head of Digital Innovation at Aps Bank. Before we start, I would like to encourage the listeners to ask questions at any time during the session. If there's any questions we can't get to today, we'll follow up. The pace of change in retail banking has been rapid. The emergence of new technologies, evolving consumer expectations, and new competitors have forced banks to innovate continuously to stay relevant. All of you are driving innovation as unique context to your organizations. To begin, I would request you to give our audience a brief context of your organization, the market spaces you're focusing on, and the key approaches you've taken to scale innovation in your respective organizations. Jeremy, could we start with you in HSBC?
Hi, Grace. Hi, everyone. And thanks for the opportunity to be here. So HSBC, for those who aren't aware, we're one of the largest global universal banking groups in the world. My accent is Australian. It's a British bank. We have an Asian name, and I'm based in New York. So if that doesn't confuse you, nothing will. Suffice it to say that we have been, as a firm, at the cutting edge of innovation since really our founding in 1865. It's in our DNA. If you think through the audacity of two Brits based in Asia who wanted to finance trade with the Americas, which is essentially how HSBC started. In many ways, it was the Amazon of financial services of its day. Of course, financial services, for the most part of the last 157 years, has probably stagnated for most of that. It's really the last decade we've seen this phenomenal wave of technology in other parts of the economy that's really driven innovation within financial services, moved customer expectations to a new level. And how we focus, particularly at the consumer level, is around really allowing our customers to bank when, where, and how they choose, and putting the bank in not only in the palm of their hand through the mobile device, but through other ubiquitous channels like voice, like robotics, like wearable tech, in addition to the physical experience, if that's indeed how they choose. And some notable partnerships that our team has led. We made history as the world's first bank and the world's first consumer bank to put a robot in a bank branch, a social humanoid robot in a bank branch, should I say? World's first bank to deploy wearable technology to frontline staff, again in the consumer side of the business, to derive efficiencies in communications, to interpersonal communications, doing more for customers in shorter period of time, and the productivity boosts. And then I guess more recently, something we did with artificial intelligence in partnership with Google and Valara around real-time translation. We are the world's leading international bank. Over a third of our customers here in the US alone are international. We know that there are 70 million non-English speakers in the US alone. So to be able to deliver a world-class first impression through AI to solve that language barrier, particularly the consumer financial services level, is really unique. So those are just 3 of the most sort of notable innovations we've done at the consumer level in the last couple of years that have got a lot of attention. I'm happy to talk about that and more, and our philosophy as we go through this.
Thank you, Jeremy. Sailesh, may I ask you to talk about Metrobank?
Hi there, welcome. Yeah, no problem. So Metrobank is a challenger bank in the UK. Now it's been established for 10 years. And unlike the more recent challenger banks in the digital space, it's a stores based retail community bank, and that at its heart. And we've really just taken that community aspect and service to customers at the core of our ethos. So we're particularly proud of the fact that in terms of NPS scores, we get 77s and high 70s ever since we've been in existence. And the focus is relentlessly on the customer and doing the right thing for the customer, and innovation can apply in lots of different ways. So in terms of making sure that the innovations we drive are actually from our customers, and that's what we tend to focus on. So things like extended store hours, safety deposit boxes and things like that are critical to making both us as a differentiator and increasing our trust with the customer. In terms of innovation, you know, before the whole cloud space started opening up, you know, we first brought CRM into those environments and how we could start actually using that kind of technology to understand better the ways and needs of our customers. As technology's evolved in recent years, as along with everyone else, as you just heard, you know, the push to cloud is a big thing, but also around how we use technology to better align with our customer needs. Yeah, so effectively, you know, service designs, customer expectation, test and learn with real customers, really trialing what works and doesn't work with customer groups, and then bringing it to market. And obviously, like everybody else in financial services, you know, moving to DevOps, increasing our pace of change, and reducing costs so the bank can focus on what the customers want, and keeping that alignment is what, you know, is what drives us at Metro. And, you know, a lot of this isn't just possible without the right culture and the people wanting to create that innovation for the customer. And ultimately that's, you know, about creating valuable innovation rather than, you know, introducing technology for the sake of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sailesh. Andres, could you let us know more about Nequi from Bancolombia?
Hello, Grace. Hello to everybody. I first introduce myself. I'm leading right now a company which is part of the Grupo Bancolombia, which is called Nequi. Nequi is a new bank. Bancolombia is one of the biggest banks in Colombia. We have operations in Colombia, Panama, Salvador, Guatemala, and we have also office on Puerto Rico. We normally run business. We are number 1, 2, or 3 on the countries that we participate in terms of market share. So Bancolombia is a successful bank, more than 145 years, and it's been a very innovative bank. But 5 years ago, we decided to go for a challenge. We decided that the industry was changing, the relationship with customers and banks was tough, and we need to participate in the transformation of the industry in a different way. So we decided to go for a challenge of creating a complete new pure digital bank. We don't have that in mind in that moment. We just wanted to make a change and to work with customers and potential customers, especially young people, to find out what they needed to change their way of managing money. So that's the way that we started. We in the beginning, we didn't know what will come. So we created Nequi 5 years ago, as I told you. And we became a neo bank. We now have deposits, loans, payment solutions, debit and credits, and we also run a more or less a marketplace that we can offer some non-financial services integrated to an app. We just work with an app. We are pure mobile. We also support some transactions, especially for cash in and cash out through ATMs, Bancolombia ATMs, and also through correspondent banking partners, for example, grocery stores, pharmacies, things like that, that can help customers in order to put money in cash or to take out cash, because that's really, we are participating in a really cash economy, still have a cash economy. So that's more or less what we do. we have been really successful. We were the first digital bank in the country. Now we have some competitors right now, and a lot of movement is coming to our markets. And we have reached now 5 million customers till now.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Daniel, can you tell us about APS Bank?
Hi, yes, of course. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. APS Bank is a community bank which is based in the beautiful island of Malta. We focus on the local economy so far by serving our both retail and corporate customers. We offer a complete range of personal services together with corporate services to our corporate customers. One important thing about APS Bank is that we take pride in our ethical banking, whilst we always keep at heart the corporate social responsibility towards the local market. That's one of the differentiating factor about APS Bank, keeping always these values at heart. We've been operating for over 100 years now. Our roots were set up to help people save money. And then the bank continued growing, and thanks to the very solid foundations built by our predecessors, now the bank is in the grasp of growth. We are growing at a very fast rate by always serving our customers. Our key approach to innovation is that innovation is not about technology. We innovate to serve our customers. So we constantly innovate by focusing on our customer needs to service them. We believe in the philosophy where innovating just for the sake of innovating will not take you anywhere. So we focus on our customer needs. We try to anticipate them because that is part of innovation. However, our customer needs and wants are always at the heart of our innovation program. And I will be very happy to discuss some of the innovative areas we've worked on in the coming sections.
Thank you, Daniel. Jeremy, HSBC Bank has been an innovation pioneer globally. Can you share some examples of some of the significant innovations HSBC has introduced in the last 3 years in the retail and wealth management segments?
Sure, Grace. And echoing just also, if I may, something that Daniel said, which I thought was quite profound, is when I joined HSBC in 2015, there was no such thing as a formal innovation function, which I created, and the first thing we did was create a definition, which we defined as doing something differently that creates value. And similar to the way Daniel framed it, it's not only about technology. But likewise, the way Sailesh, I thought very beautifully mentioned earlier, putting the customers at the heart of what we do. So some of the things just in the last couple of years that we've done, we did a formal retail transformation program, which was a $2 billion global program, of which we spent about $250 million in North America alone. Replaced 157 different systems with a completely new banking hub, which allowed all these API layers and middleware to connect it through fintech partnerships. Here in the US alone, some of the partnerships, we've built a mobile personal lending platform with a company out of Chicago called Avant. We built a software-based or robo-advisor for our wealth management customers with a company out of New Hampshire called Marstone. We did a mortgage origination partnership with Roostify. We built a financial wellness platform with a DC-based company called Everfi, which has been phenomenally powerful, especially during the pandemic and lockdown. We saw a 3x rise in traffic in the first month of lockdown alone in the US last year, just with people wanting help on financial wellness. In addition to some of the more tactical customer-led innovations I mentioned earlier on robotics, wearable tech, AI. And like Sailesh said, we've been cloud-enabled for a number of years. But I will say, though, that when we led, over the 4 years leading into 2020, when I started here in the US, we had less than 5% of our total sales in the US were digital transactions. It was very branch dependent because our digital capabilities were very nascent or non-existent. And with those partnerships that I mentioned on those straight through digital journeys, including on a credit card journey, with a partnership called with Avoca, who are now owned by Temenos. When we started 2020, me and my CEO, we spoke at our town hall early 2020 last year to our staff in the US to say that we've hit 60% of all our sales with digital channels. And then we right-sized some of our branch network in the US early last year because customers wanted to bank on their mobile phones or through digital channels as their preferred options. And then obviously then COVID hit, which none of us knew, and the lockdowns, and then of course the partnerships and digital innovations and fintechs that we've worked with to give us those capabilities. We went from 60%, over 90% by the end of the year in the US alone through digital distribution. So it put us in a really powerful position with the unforeseen dislocation that we saw, obviously, and still see. And more importantly, I think what it does demonstrate is as we see shifts in customer behaviors that are arising out of this, lockdown and so on, is, we've seen rampant increases in digital adoption, especially in financial services here in the US. And so no longer I would argue that no longer is this innovation, this is BAU. And this needs to be BAU, and banks need to automate and digitize faster than ever before if they have not, because they will be left behind in this new world.
Thank you, Jeremy. Sailesh, Metro Bank has emerged as a leading bank in the UK as a challenger bank. What were some of the key innovation areas that Metro Bank prioritized for differentiation early on? And what are your team's current innovation priorities?
So as I said, I mean, Metro Bank was founded on the basis of the customer, okay? And from the beginning, it was a very strong focus on customer service. And, they felt that, we felt that stores or branches, depending on your bank, weren't really there for the customer. And it was always about customer sales. It was always about, selling the next product, et cetera, et cetera. And, in the UK, there was PPI and all of the mis-selling scandals and all the rest of it. So guess what? The innovation factor was we were genuinely going to do what was right for the customer. And we weren't going to focus on that other aspect of banking, shifting financial services products. And, the other big innovation was the recruitment. So, Metro people are amazing and they're recruited to be very customer centric, and the whole process is very customer centric. And, it's the nature of it. So Metro employees, you can meet them anywhere and you'll get that kind of buzz and, as we call it, zestiness about them, and their commitment to serving the customer first and genuinely doing so. And so I think that created, if you will, some of the highest NPS scores in banking in the UK, right? So of the banks with that, that's what we've got, and we've got a very strong, loyal customer base as a result of it. And there was a degree of innovation. So first in those days, bank in a box kind of architectures, customer, the CRM services to really understand the customer was brought in. Today's world, as Jeremy's really alluded to, the world's changed. COVID, et cetera, has come in. So our innovation focus now is in doing exactly the same things. If I put them into a number of categories, we focused on agility. So, in the time of COVID, we had to launch a loan system for our business customers, and launching that from idea into production in 4 weeks, working with a fintech and doing all the integration and all the processes associated with it. So, brand new product out there, and then we've taken that step towards being able to start truly experimenting. So we are now at the point of turning new product ideas into production within weeks, so that the low cost of innovation is there, or a dramatic lowering of cost of innovation, so that we can do small customer group trials. So the way we tend to work is we will bring small groups of customers, or used to, shall we say, small groups of customers associated with the branches, with our stores, where they have the local relationships with the SME clients, trial it out with them. And then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If they want to change things, we change things. And it's that ability to agile, transform. And then, you know, the standard stuff is, you know, migrating workload into cloud. And we haven't just done that to move workload into cloud, but it's to genuinely start bringing, you know, new digital channels, new innovation mechanisms, new onboarding processes through the process. And, you know, generally innovating to create efficiency in the bank. So things like back office robotics, through the activity, starting to focus on, you know, bringing new change through the mobile channels every couple of months. So you've got a constant cycle of small ideas being able to be pushed into the hands of customers quickly. So the focus is on that level of agility, and then, you know, transforming the organization so it starts focusing on that level of agility as a whole. You know, and bringing that with customer design. So bringing the product teams, the change teams, the technology teams, the operation teams together in a seamless flow of value is where we're going. And we see, you know, the ability to innovate shouldn't be a unique piece, but we should be driving it through the organization. So, you know, innovation becomes cheaper and more flexible. And in today's world of SaaS, you know, being able to work with partners and, you know, with API gateways and things like that is fairly standard stuff. So, you know, moving in that direction is where we see ourselves going.
Yeah, Sailesh, 4 weeks to implement a new product and roll it out. That's amazing.
Yep.
Congratulations. Andres, you've built a successful digital-only franchise as part of a larger Bancolombia group. A lot of established banks are trying to roll out similar digital-only propositions. How would you summarize your experience so far? Insights you could share on lessons learned, particularly on things one shouldn't inherit from the parent bank, would be valuable for others in the early stages of a similar journey.
Okay, a lot of things. Hello, a lot of things that we have learned not to do. I don't think that we have enough time to tell all the wrong things that we have done. But the fact is, and the important thing is that we have learned a lot, and we have changed those things really fast, and we make it up, and we move. So basically, as results, I think that this experience with creating a new brand, a new approach to banking, a new way of seeing customers and approaching to them has helped bank a lot to learn from this experience and to share some practices in terms of technical things, design things. We have a very strong design team, and we changed the way that we used to design products in bank, and we have shared a lot with that. I think that relationship with the bank in sharing things, also technical things. We start from a white paper to build this. We use some technology available by licenses, for example, Infosys license for the core, but we implement a complete new instance for Nequi, and we develop everything on new technology. I think that most of you guys know that banks have legacies that are tough to help innovation, and that's something that we decided to go for new technology that helps us. Technology is not the innovation, but it helps a lot to innovate. So we decided to go that way, and a new ways of approaching to projects and to way of working profiles. As Sailesh said, we Nequi enroll to the company, new ways of thinking, new profiles, designers, different industries, to have those inputs and change really change the way we approach the banking. So I think that's the kind of things that we do. But what I suggest, if you're going for an approach of having a spin-off, we are an operational spin-off. We use the banking license of Bancolombia to operate. We work in a different space, but I think that very important is to have the courage to understand that you need to compete with your own products, that you might be able to cannibalize even some of your own products right now in order to modify and to change the way you approach. So you need to have the courage. And for that, you need to have the high level support of the organization, the conviction of doing this type of things. For example, in the case of Bancolombia, in the moment that we were starting this project, the actual CEO of Bancolombia, which is Juan Carlos Mora, was the sponsor of the project directly. He was the leader of innovation that moment, and he became the CEO of the bank. And we have always we had always the support and because you try to I don't know how to say that you may tend to have the easy way to approach is do not do that. We already tried that. We have this on the bank right now. So try to suffocate those type of things really easy. So you need to have the courage and the support to do that. Another thing that I mentioned as something that you don't try to attach the process that you have and modify. This is a good way of starting new approaches because normally the digital transformation that bank have is modifying maybe to a different channel, a process that you already have. Writing them from the scratch is a good approach. And also start from the customer. We at the beginning understood that customers have a different way of approaching to manage their money. For example, we went for 3 months to live in a university in Medellin, and we understand that young people you hack the banks in order to avoid their fees, in order to hacking in the good sense. Hack the banks in order to avoid the fees, to avoid the way that banks approach. And we understood those hacking approaches that users have, and we made them easy for them. And understanding the customer and putting the customer and understanding it deeply in order to design better solution is also something that helps us a lot. So I think that's.
Thank you, Andres. I'm hearing a common theme across Sailesh and Andres. Technology is an enabler for innovation. It is not the innovation itself, and it's about agility and focusing on the customer. So Daniel, APS Bank's one of the leading banking institutions in Malta today. The bank's been in business for over 100 years. In this time frame, a lot of things have changed. You mentioned, but most recently in the last handful of years, right? How have you leveraged innovation to keep pace with changing customer expectations?
Yes, as mentioned also in the introduction, the bank has been operating for over 100 years. So I believe that in itself is a testament to how the bank embraces innovation. If you don't adapt and constantly change, obviously, you will not be successful for such a long time. First of all, when it comes to innovation, I echo what Jeremy mentioned. We strive to have innovation part of our BAU, part of our daily task. We try to be innovative in everything we do, every decision we make, even if at that point it might look too small or irrelevant. However, if we go into specifics, I see our innovation mainly in 4 areas. First of all, we constantly innovate our products offering. We have a focused and dedicated team that constantly strives to launch new products in the market with the aim of, first of all, retaining our existing customers and attracting new ones. This varies from saving products, now pension products, together with loans. For example, we offer a unique product which combines the element of a traditional overdraft with a traditional home loan, which proves to be quite successful, and we have quite a large number of customers making use of this product. Secondly, of course, we have our electronic channels. Needless to say, electronic channels are very important and have been here, and it's very important that we maintain them. We recently launched our new platform, which includes both a desktop application and the mobile application. This also includes features allowing customers to pay utility bills online, transferring funds just by the use of mobile number, etc., etc. We also launched a new login mechanism, which, although safe and secure and in line with the secure customer authentication requirements from the PSD2, it still makes customer experience seamless and a very, very easy journey, which we believe is a very important one. Another important area of our innovation is our branches. So it was mentioned earlier that we live in a cash economy, and in Malta, this is still very much the case. And also in Malta, it's still very much the case where customers demand a physical presence, and customers enjoy coming to the branch for certain banking needs. This led us to renovating our branches. And when we're saying renovating, we're not just saying repainted the walls. We've introduced a new concept, as our CEO, Mr. Marcel Cassar, likes to say, we raised the bar when it comes to branch banking. We introduced the element of a living room banking, where our branches embrace an open plan area where we can meet our customers, interact with them. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we could not do this very much, but it's an element we take pride in. And we also then use technology to innovate what we offer in the branches. We introduced automated teller machines to handle deposits, withdrawals, and any other cash transactions. So we are leveraging the fact that we have a teller serving the customer, but instead of spending time counting and sorting cash, this is being done automatically, whilst the teller is getting to know the customer, understanding the needs to see how we can serve better. Finally, obviously, automation. We've automated back office tasks. We continue to automate back office tasks using robotics. It's a very important area. It's I believe, never-ending journey. I will find it very hard to believe if an organization says that they've automated whatever they can automate. There's always something to automate. We are seeing this as a very important aspect because it's freeing up time from our resources to focus then on more value-generating tasks. Those are the main areas I believe we've been focusing on innovation in the past.
Thank you, Daniel. Sailesh, technology is a key enabler for product, process, channels, or ecosystem innovation. How are you leveraging modern technology to create more value for the consumers? What are the focus areas for your technology organization?
I think technology takes quite a lot of forms, and as we've discussed, right, it's got to be directed appropriately. What we've done is look at the flow of value fundamentally from understanding the customer need, how we are able to test and learn with clients. Innovations just simply like being able to do simple mock-ups and trial with the customer, getting the right people together in the right meetings to discuss that process, and then you think about how you build it. Cloud is obviously, ubiquitous. The build time nowadays isn't the big factor, okay? Because you've got things like DevOps, infrastructure as code, testing, processes, automation, all of that is now able to convert that concept from the customer directly into someone's hand that much faster. So the challenge is always now about making sure that the right teams are in the right place, coming up with the right ideas, that the organization is consistently following, and things like service design, okay? So making sure we think when we offer the product, what is the downstream impact, be it physical operations teams or our IT colleagues in terms of monitoring, incident management, controls. So, big pieces are around really thinking through the whole service design so that we're avoiding waste and cost downstream. And therefore, all of the value from the idea is realized, and that the organization doesn't sort of come up with innovation, go out there, and it basically is, there's many a time where people have come up with an idea and then it's resulted in a downstream impact because the teams weren't ready for it. And then you've basically remove, the customer may love it, but the downstream value has gone because you've had to have another 20 people put another manual process in to go and fix it. So, you know, technology is really about thinking about that end-to-end piece, and we've put lots of metrication technology in to measure, you know, the process steps and the time of execution, etc. So using a lot of lean principles, you know, and then, you know, really leveraging cloud and all of those kind of technologies just to, you know, simplify that time. So ultimately, you know, technology is there to try and get those ideas in front of our customers as quickly as possible. You know, and if they're successful, they'll scale, and we can deal with them at scale without actually then going to go, oh my God, the next thing to do is to have a remediation project for that very successful product we just launched, to go and fix it. So, you know, it is about technology working with the business and with the client focus, and then, you know, holistically thinking about delivering that value, both to the customer and the bank, as one action really, and doing that as quickly as possible, keeping it iterative, and, you know, keeping colleagues engaged, because ultimately, you know, our attitude is it's all about people. People have got to feel, you know, it's the usual purpose, you know, so, you know, where people think that they're delivering the value to the customer and it's actually being used. You know, everyone goes in there thinking, right, I've done something, I've delivered something. And that's the kind of attitude we want in staff, and, you know, the experience we want our staff to have. And it involves a lot of change, right? And, you know, innovating our technology processes. It might be, you know, Jira process flows, might be introducing new tools and technologies to make that process work. It's a, you know, a fairly ruthless examination of methods, process, methodology, technology that supports to drive that value, really.
Thank you. Andres, in our experience, many digital banks are now trying to expand their portfolio beyond simple deposits and loans to a broader product portfolio. What's the thinking of Bancolombia, and what are the most popular products today? And how do you think your product portfolio is going to evolve in the future?
Okay, Grace. We started with deposits with a very simple approach to deposits. We call it a saving account with a low enrollment process, very simple enrollment process. We have developed now loans. In fact, we designed this low amount loan with the customers. We did a fake door on the application, and we asked them to. We put a loan on the application, and all the customers tag that or click on that button and say what they were expecting to find. And that's the way that we collect 4,000 ideas of the product that we will develop, and we developed that loans. So we are in a process of penetrating with loans. We started with deposits, and we are penetrating now with loans. Also, due to the pandemic, we launched in 25 days. We launched we call it a parachute loan, which was attached to some government guarantees that help independent employees to approach to a loan, and we did that on the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic. So we are working on loans with a different approach. We want to have a very responsible. We don't want to have a pushy proposition for loans. We want to be there when the customer needs it in the context of the customer. So I think that's something really important. We also think that the developing partnerships with third parties, and that's the future of what we are thinking, is trying to merge digital products with financial products, with non-financial products. Is something that is what we are working right now. I don't think that customers want to do banking. We want to be where they are doing things that they like to do or they need to do, instead of bringing them to do banking. So I think that APIs, open banking, partnerships is one of the things. For example, we launched recently also, not due to pandemic, we were working before that, a solution in the app that helps customers to inquire and to have a doctor inquiries and a doctor approach, and we have that embedded on the application. We also have a last mile solution for transportation, the scooters and bikes and things like that, in order to attach the solution that we are collecting the funds and helping the companies to grow. So we are working with a lot of startups that are offering that type of products, and we are including that on the marketplace so we will continue developing those type of solutions to customers. And I think that also what we are going to continue working is bringing data to products. It's not just doing a PFM. It's not just doing something that helps customers. That's, I think, very important, but how to productize the data for the customer. And that's something that we are working right now a lot. So I think that's the main things that we will see in the future and right now.
Thank you, Andres. Jeremy, you've authored 2 fascinating books, Investing with Impact, Why Finance is a Force for Good, and Millennialization of Everything, How to Win When Millennials Rule the World. The theme of our event, Scaling Digital with Purpose, right? It's quite aligned to the topics you've covered. Can I request you to summarize the key points articulated in these books for the audience today?
Sure. I mean, Grace, what I would say is that there is a sort of similarity between the first book around ethics in finance and the second around, how the millennial demographic, for the most part, globally are going to sort of inherit the world. And I think where the nexus between the two really arises is the sort of the economic J curve that, for the most part, millennials as a demographic in a generation have tended to, especially middle and younger millennials, and of course Gen Z you could include as well, have tended to be stuck in that J curve, which has only been accelerated not only by the first financial crisis of 2008, but you could argue with the COVID financial crisis that's happened since, is going to extend that J curve. And in many ways, that's why you've seen the likes of the rise of the sort of, particularly in the UK, the neobanks like Sailesh and others around serving, for the large part, that disaffected millennial population who have arguably less complex financial needs than generations before them, and desire a mobile-led, simple, easy, fast customer experience on a device to have basically a digital wallet and a payment capability for the most part. And then as they tend to get through that economic J curve, then we expect to demand other financial services and lending capabilities, typically of other customers at similar periods of their life. So I think that's really where the nexus comes. And I think the genesis of the first book was in a post-financial crisis world to articulate the inherently ethical foundations of our financial system and the actors in the financial system, that some of whom had lost their way. I think the banking industry, for the most part, has done a very good job, cleaning itself up and paying some big fines, globally over the last sort of 10 or 12 years, and rightly so. I think that the new generation of leadership, again, for the most part, at the major banks, I think understand the responsibility that comes with banks' role in society, but likewise millennials, over the next decade will demographically inherit, and become the most dominant political, economic, cultural, and social force the world has ever seen. Whether that's the third of American population who are millennial, I think it's somewhere between a quarter and a third of the UK, a third of Australia, a third of Canada. We're looking at a population exceeding 2 billion people globally who have been shaped by sort of largely 2 events, one being trust, 9/11, banking crisis, financial crisis, and technology, the sort of the rise of the mobile phone and everything on demand in the palm of their hand over the last, decade and a half since the development of the iPhone in large part. So those two, where those 2 T's really intersect, trust and technology, is actually what's been fueling this wave of innovation across all forms of commerce, but in particular banking, which is sort of lagged behind because for the most part, financial services have been spending a lot of money, billions of dollars and time and human resources to try to remediate problems, while every other customer experience has been enhanced so significantly. So that's very, very succinctly how I could sort of relate the two to why we're talking about today, and of course with purpose, is, when you look at the economic disparities, historically they've been based upon different factors, whereas now it's actually a lot of it's generational. Those who are under, say, 40 versus, we sort of look at the wealth disparity. If you look at globally wealth, millennials represent, less than 1/6 of global wealth, but make up a much larger, almost a third of the global population. So, and in fact, I haven't seen the numbers post-COVID because of the disparity in markets and economic opportunities and employment, loss of wages. You could argue that the disparity has gotten greater. And of course, you're seeing social unrest. You're seeing questioning of trust and faith in the established system, democracy around the world in most industrialized economy. These are not issues that are going to go away anytime soon. And so therefore, if you think back to the role of financial services as a key organ and distributor within the economy of economic opportunity, the most important thing we can do, all of us in the industry, is to facilitate the positive allocation of capital to help businesses grow, to help businesses create, to help small businesses and entrepreneurs and startups to be funded to employ, to create wealth. And some of them will become big major corporations who will employ thousands more and pay big taxes, which is what society needs. And that's how the economy functions. So, from my perspective, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's what drives me every single day. And what heartens me, I've met so many good people across the industry and numerous competitors in different diverse places around the world who all share a similar sort of message. And more importantly, it's not about sharing the message, it's about putting it to practice in your organization. It's about being the change in your organization, wherever you are in financial services or broadly the broader economy. We have a role to play. Finance is a force for good. And frankly, those who don't share those values should get the hell out of our industry.
Thank you, Jeremy. Daniel, COVID-19, the pandemic, has accelerated digital adoption among consumers. Can you tell us about your experience and what kind of initiatives Aps Bank is doing to support the increase in digital self-service preferences during the post-pandemic?
Yes. The pandemic definitely played a very key role in shifting customers to digital channels. We've experienced that. We had a number of customers who were still resisting the use of digital channels. So this is also attributed maybe to age. However, the pandemic sort of did not give any options due to the lockdowns and all the restrictions we don't need to discuss. We've all gone through them, unfortunately. In fact, just by mentioning a brief statistic, in just the first 2 months of the pandemic, transactions carried out on our digital channels grew by 25 to 30%, which was quite a significant increase. We continued strengthening our digital offering. We strengthened our digital platform to make sure that we cope with the increased demand, with the increased number of customers using it. We introduced new products to support customers in financial difficulty. Also, thanks to our solid backbone, we were able to launch such products in 3 to 4 weeks. We're giving out specific loans to assist customers in dire financial situations, and also rescheduling and adjusting existing loans to facilitate repayments. Those were available digitally, where customers could apply for such requests, even using our secure messaging platform. It's part of our electronic platform, which maybe was not being used as such before the pandemic, but now it's very popular with our customers as a way of communicating with us, because it provides a 100% guarantee that the customer is authenticated and is who or he or she actually claim they are, and therefore we can communicate freely with them, exchange documents that maybe before had to either be sent by mail or collected physically from our branches. That also combined with our enhanced product offering, we've just launched our new cards platform, assisted customers to reduce contact time with other individuals and also at terminals to try and limit the spread of the pandemic. So we tried to play our role in limiting the spread of COVID by offering these help and these new channels to assist customers in their financial needs. At this stage, however, we are also prepared to maintain the momentum once the pandemic is over, because we know that one day or another, this pandemic will be over. We have faith, okay, it will not be anytime soon, but we know that this pandemic will be over. However, these customers will, I don't think they will go back now to their traditional banking. Customers are now used to this more convenient way of banking. So although the pandemic hopefully will end soon, this trend, this momentum will have to keep on, and we'll have to maintain it.
Thank you, Daniel. Just to wrap up, so if we, as the panel, if we had to recommend what areas the audience could be focusing for innovation, does the various panelists, Sailesh, Andres, Jeremy, and Daniel, do you have any recommendations for areas of innovation?
If I just take that first, guys, fundamentally, I think it's going to be more about customer connection, prototyping, improving your pipeline to get that feature product for the business in front of the customer to find out what it works and doesn't work, and doing it in a way that both is low cost for the bank to test and learn, but also correctly scaled. So if it is successful and you need to keep it going for millions of customers, it's not something that the bank is going to regret. So technology is just a means to that end, but to achieve that end, it means bringing all parts of the organization together and onto the same page with a clear common purpose. And as leaders, that ultimately is the objective and goal we need to strive for, because we're not going to get it right first time. It's not potentially going to be the right thing for the customer, but being able to, as guys have said, withdraw product safely is equally critical, right? So we need to go out there and do that customer focused thing.
And Grace, I would echo Sailesh and just say that, always ask yourself, what is the problem you're trying to solve? That's the first thing that you should ask, put the customer in mind, not as a cliche, but legitimately, ask, what are we trying to solve here? Oftentimes you'll hear a technology that's sort of flavor of the month, and then someone will ask you at an executive committee meeting or management committee meeting, hey, what are we doing with, this buzzword? And many times it's there to solve a problem you don't have, or it's going to create a problem you don't need. Find out what the problem is you're trying to solve, and then find the best solution for that, whether that's a technology solution or otherwise, it remains to be seen. But have a goal in mind, especially with undergoing some sort of transformation. What do you want to look like at the end of it, rather than just saying, let's go on a transformation, because it may go in a direction you don't want to go, or don't intend to end up. And bring people on the journey with you, first and foremost. There's nothing more, people are fearful in this world right now. So especially in organizations that are getting smaller, are fearful of technology. Bring people on the journey with you, engage them, and have an ambition in mind and articulate that.
Perfect. Andres?
I think I think the key word for us is context. Being invisible to them, being there, they knowing that we are with them right in that moment, but letting them have their important things in life with the banking on his cell phone, but there in the context. So I think that innovation around data, understanding the customer, and being in that exact moment where they need you is the key thing. And all the innovation that we can do to be there is going to be.
Yeah, I like to call that ubiquitous banking. You're offering banking services where the customer needs it. They don't necessarily have to know who you are.
Yeah, that's right.
And Daniel, any?
So my recommendation would be the point we started with. So don't innovate just to innovate. Make sure that when you're innovating, you are targeting a specific customer needs. We are here to serve our customers, irrespective of what we say and what we do. We are nothing without our customers. So innovating just for innovating, I echo what Jeremy said. Sometimes we hear a buzzword and we just want to do it for the sake of doing it and saying APS is doing it. That will not return any result. Just make sure you're innovating to target a specific need, a specific section of your customers.
Perfect. So what I've heard today is Technology is a tool, an enabler, right, for innovation. We need to focus on why we're doing innovation, right? What is the real objective? And everyone agrees it's customer focused, right? And then it's don't be afraid to try something and don't be afraid to fail, because agility allows you to retry, right? Well, thank you. With that, we come to the end of a very enlightening session. A big thank you to our panelists. We are very grateful for your time and your valuable insights. And thank you to all the attendees for making time to attend. I do hope the session was useful and that a lot of you, there was a lot to take away from the sessions. If you'd like to view the recording, we'll be sending a follow-up mail with the video link. Please feel free to share it with your colleagues. I hope you will stay tuned for the to Finacle Conclave and enjoy the speakers and discussions lined up for you. Goodbye and stay safe.